Teachers open the door, but you must enter by yourself. Chinese proverb. Good evening, Head of the ISAT University, Dr. Gustavo Mislain Gonzalez, Executive Academic Coordinator, Mrs. Giselle Ballesteros, Head of the English Department, Doris Castillo, dear teachers, panelists, students, welcome to ISAT University for our last conference of the 2023 academic year. Today is a very special day for all of us here, and we're honored to have you all for this outstanding forum. Today, this forum is entitled, I've always wanted to be an English teacher. You will look at this topic in three different perspectives. First, from a professor, then from a current student, and last but not least, from a former student who is a professor right now. Today, they will share vital information that will help you to analyze in more details whenever you are trying your best and for the fact that you have chosen this career to be part of your life. Their expertise, experience, knowledge will be with you today. And once you get it, no one can take it away from you. Without any further ado, I would like to address the audience by welcoming our head of the university, Dr. Gustavo Mislain, who will be addressing some words for the audience. Please welcome our doctor.
Good evening. Es lo único que les pienso decir en inglés. Bien, buenas noches a todos. Encantado de saludarles. Disculpen la demora. Estoy en clase en el piso 6 y cumpliendo con ese deber que creo que dice mucho de lo que nos van a compartir, creo yo, nuestros invitados, a quienes quiero saludar, así como saludar a la profesora Doris Castillo, coordinadora de la carrera de inglés, al resto de nuestros coordinadores, a nuestra directora académica que se encuentra cumpliendo funciones en el interior con la fiscalización de la Facultad de Ciencias Administrativas y las demás autoridades de la universidad. Yo creo que dinámicas como estas que ha organizado el departamento, la coordinación de inglés, con el apoyo de siempre de nuestro querido profesor José Luis y de todos los profesores presentes y ustedes estudiantes, pensar si siempre he tenido claro lo que soy y lo que quiero. Y yo siempre digo una frase que a veces no gusta mucho. Yo soy el rector de la universidad, pero ante todo soy educador y estoy feliz de ser educador. Y probablemente, muy seguro, en algún momento dejaré de ser rector, pero nunca dejaré de ser educador. Porque creo que encontrar que esa es mi vocación, que esa es mi razón de ser feliz en el mundo, aparte de mi familia, que me hace ser feliz como persona, yo creo que para mí es una forma de realizarme, ¿sí? No es el dinero, no es el estatus, porque les puedo decir como maestro que soy que muchas veces el estatus es porque eres el rector, pero quizás no se tomen tantas fotos conmigo si no sea el rector. Con lo cual, al final, tiene mucho que ver la decisión que yo tome, lo que quiero ser y lo que ustedes, panelistas esta noche, van a transmitirle a nuestros estudiantes y a todos los que nos siguen a través del canal de YouTube, ¿sí? Siempre he buscado, he conseguido en mí eso que ahora soy. Bueno, ellos nos los van a decir desde su experiencia. Y sobre todo porque el profesorado en inglés, el docente de inglés, es un docente muy particular. Siempre lo he visto así, ¿no? El de inglés, el de portugués, cualquier idioma que no sea el nativo. Porque no es solamente la gramática. Yo soy de español, entonces no es solamente enseñar la gramática, no es solamente enseñar la estructura. Eso es importante, eso es necesario. Yo que soy un necio con la ortografía, se los puedo asegurar. Pero el mensaje que transmites, la cultura que está detrás de ese mensaje, lo que quieres transmitir con ese mensaje, yo creo que eso es mucho más profundo, más importante y sobre todo más relevante. Entonces les deseo que en esta experiencia y en esta iniciativa, que me permito felicitar a la profesora y a todos los que la han acompañado en la realización de esta, en ver, no solamente aprender elementos conceptuales. Yo lo acabo de decir ahora en la clase de evaluación de los aprendizajes en educación superior, que compartí con Doris y con José Luis en otro ámbito. Hay contenidos conceptuales, contenidos procedimentales, que son importantísimos, pero pocas veces nos vamos a los contenidos actitudinales. Y yo creo que definitivamente eso es lo que nos vienen a presentar hoy. Mente abierta, oídos abiertos, corazón abierto, para que todo lo que ellos nos digan pueda servirles ahora y para después. Feliz noche. Thank you very much.
Thank you for those kind words, very inspiring message you have provided today. And we do appreciate the fact that you're also here to address the audience. Thank you so much for that. Well, let's get started. We're ready for what we're here for. But before we get into that, I would like to also call our head of the English department, Professor Doris Castillo.
Hello, thank you for being here. That is important. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Doris Castillo, English coordinator, your coordinator. I would like to thank to our rector, Dr. Gustavo Misraín González, and our professors, Professor Aurieta, and Professor Annette. She was my teacher too. I would like to special thanks to our three panelists. They are so special. Exar, Benny, and Nilam. Thank you for being here. And I would like to thank to our lovely Jose Luis. Thank you for being our moderator tonight. To our students, you are the reason that we organize this kind of activities. Thank you for everyone that watches us in our YouTube channel. And now we're going to enjoy this special activity. Thank you.
Thank you, head of the English department, for your message. It's very important to be aware of this. Well, we're here for this important forum. You will witness today, and you will get the message again, the knowledge, expertise, and experience from this topic. I've always wanted to be an English teacher. I know some of you already started in this career, but some of you are just getting ready and prepared to be, and you guys will do a great job once you start, working, on this area. Our panelists are ready to give it all, and I'm going to start with today's presenter, the first one, Professor Exar Centeno. Please welcome him.
Tell you this right now. If you're unwilling to invest in yourself, you will never be successful. Let me tell you this right now. If you're unwilling to invest in yourself, you will never be successful. Never. And I have people all the time, say, well, John, will you sponsor me? No. Heck no. Sponsor yourself. You see, the moment you sponsor yourself, then other people will start to invest in you. Some of you are on the brink. You can step over the line and invest in yourself, and I promise you, it'll make all the difference in the world. That's if there's a secret sauce. I'm constantly going to great events, but all this is action, by the way. Go to great events, seek out great people, ask great questions, read great books, attempt to do great things, find great mentors. This begins to be absolutely huge in your life and mine.
So sponsor yourself and people will begin to invest in you. Good evening, teachers, students, and special guests, and also the spectators that are looking at the broadcast. My name is XR Alan Centeno, and I am a teacher and trainer specialist in ETS tests, namely TOEIC and TOEFL. I'm also an ESL teacher and a professor at Isai University, as well as a translator and interpreter. I currently hold a master's degree in educational leadership, management, and emerging technologies from MIU, Florida, and a bachelor's degree in English with emphasis on translation from Isai University. I'm a proud graduate student from Isai University. And today we're here to discuss the importance and our experiences of being a teacher. For the past few years, I've been working as a professor. And I've also been working and continue to seek for more academic preparation. Being here at Isai University is, to me, giving back. Because it was through education that I found more possibilities. And I understood the difference between having a job and building a career. Throughout life, people are influenced by others regarding professional and career paths. For example, our career paths sometimes can be influenced by our backgrounds, by our family backgrounds, by our culture. For me, my career path was primarily influenced by my family. That was my first motivation. My family and those who encourage and support me through hardships and academic preparation. The career path that I chose is to work with the community in order to improve the educational system in the region. My motto is to keep on keeping on, no matter what, and to be intentional in every endeavor that we do, because today matters to make our dreams come true. We are work in progress, ordinary people that when take and go to that extra mile, become extraordinary. I will begin by talking a little bit about the experience and then when and how I decided to choose to direct my professional future to teach in English. So I'm going to move on now here, and I will begin talking about a personal experience and how I started this venture into the area of education, which has been one of the most rewarding experiences ever in my life. It all started about 15 years ago. Yes, it started about 15 years ago. That was nearly 15 years ago. In 2009, my wife and I were invited to a wedding. We went to that church, and at the wedding, and we were spectators, right? It was all good. We were sitting there in the audience, listening and spectating the ceremony, when suddenly the pastor that was conducting the ceremony stopped. And he asked for an interpreter in the audience. At that moment in time, I had completely forgotten that I was bilingual. And I was just sitting there. I had completely forgotten it. Well, the problem was, and the situation was that the bridegroom, which means the soon-to-be husband, was British. So he wasn't really following much of the ceremony in Spanish. The bride was a local native, but she wasn't interpreting. So I decided to volunteer only after my wife had raised my hand. Yeah. So then I walked up the stage and I start interpreting at the ceremony. So now I can say that I have held a wedding ceremony and at least gotten a couple married once in my life. Yeah. So it was at that moment and at that time, after the ceremony, which was very nice, by the way, I was approached and I was offered an opportunity to teach English. I had never taught English. And throughout my life, I never imagined that I would be a teacher. It was never in my plans. So I was 20 years old by then. I had just turned 20. And I didn't have any experience in teaching whatsoever. But then I thought, well, I have nothing to learn. So I decided to give it a try. And I was invited to be an ESL assistant teacher at a language center in 2009. At that moment, I had that opportunity that changed my life forever. So I was an ESL teacher assistant for a few years. That was in 2009. And then in 2013, I have an opportunity to become an academic teacher. You see, teaching at a school is a bit different than teaching at a language center. When you teach at a language center, people usually want to go there. People are paying to learn a language. Yeah, people have that motivation. They want to learn a second language, and that can be satisfying and motivating. However, the school setting, it's different, because in the school settings, you have attitudes, which is what we were just being told. Yeah, we know conceptual procedures, but attitudinal procedures, attitudinal dimensions. Sometimes we don't manage these things, but we get to learn them throughout time. So the attitude dimension at a school is totally different. Right. So in 2013, I began my journey as a teacher. But then something happened. In 2014, at the beginning of the year, 2014, I decided to take education more seriously and to become a certified teacher. That's when my career path started. And then I started investigating places to go. What would be a good option? Where can I go? What should I study to complement teaching? And I came across Desai University, but not by chance. My wife was actually helping me with this. Yeah, she was helping me figure out and complementing my ideas. So we get to Desai, Panama, right? And my expectations there were to become a professional teacher. You see, it wasn't until 2013 when I entered to the school system that I realized that I needed to prepare myself. You see, until age 25, at age 25, I was still having issues with my writing conventions in Spanish. I had my problems with commas. Imagine that, age 25, problems with commas, punctuation, but most importantly, accent marks. I was failing every single accent mark except for those words that end with the ION. That was the only time I knew I had to put an accent mark. You see? So oftentimes I had students correcting my writing on the board. I would write words on the board, but then I would neglect to put the accent mark. Luckily for me, the spelling was good. So I had oftentimes students come in and ask me, or walking up the board and putting the accent mark. At first, it was kind of funny. Yeah. But then later it became something that drew my attention. Because really and truly, how could you respect your teacher if your teacher doesn't manage writing conventions? So upon a conversation that I had with the principal, I decided, it's time for me to get certified. So in 2014, at the beginning of the year, I entered my venture into this career path, education, something that I will never regret. And I remember once, there is one particular teacher. That's why I like teaching, because teaching can leave a mark in students, can impact you for life. So I remember my first Spanish teacher, her name, Marta Acevedo. Perhaps some of you know her. So this professor, Marta Acevedo, I still remember her very much because she was the one that saw my writing conventions. and she evaluated me very poorly. And it's okay. One day she said to me, Exar, look at this writing mechanics. Look at this level of writing skills. You can never call yourself a professional, and never do call yourself a professional. Perhaps you'll be a half a professional, but never call yourself a professional if you don't master the writing conventions in your native language. Meaning, if you don't know how to put an accent mark, if you don't know where to put the comma, the period, and capitalize and spell properly, you're not a professional. Yeah, you're still an amateur. So it took me 2 courses to get my first A with the teacher. It took me 2 different subjects. I think it was a Spanish 1 and then Spanish 2. But then I was able to get it. And my expectations, once I started here at Isaiah University, and now I'm proud to be here, and I'm proud to be part of this institution and to have started here and built up here. I wanted to be a professional and a certified teacher. And here at Isaiah, I was able to complete that mission. So, throughout teaching, I'm going to sit here. We learned very many elements of teaching in our career. So, like I said, the expectations that I had were to become a professional, because I learned through the time that I was here, I learned that there was a big difference between a professional career and a job. Through a professional career, you learn to have you have more possibilities. More possibilities compared to a job, a J-O-B job. Yeah, it was throughout the course here at Isaiah that I learned that with English, you usually never become unemployed. Well, sometimes, but if you're bilingual, you're bound to have a job. And here at Isaiah, I took the bachelor's in English with emphasis on translation. So I was able to work even in translation. So the career opened up more possibilities. You see, when you're a certified teacher, you can work at a school, you can work at call centers if you speak the language, you can become a university professor, you can travel abroad and become a professional interpreter. And if you want to work on your own, you can also become a translator. Yeah, and many other things. So building a career is basically creating multiple paths for more comfort, for more stability in your life. And that is the game changer. And nowadays, there's a demand for preparation, for academic preparation. So throughout this career path, I've learned a lot of elements to be a professional in teaching. So this photo is aiming at arousing this curiosity to be a teacher, arousing this curiosity for the language. If your aim is to teach, to be a teacher, you got to continue working hard, and you have to continue to be dedicated. Because also one more thing I'd like to add here is don't disregard your subjects. Don't disregard attending to class. Don't disregard the value of every single lesson, because oftentimes we may say, well, I'm a little tired here, or maybe I'm not going to class today. Maybe I'll go later, or I know this topic. This is something that I manage easily, so I'll arrive late. These things will not be very productive for you in the long run. So I will recommend and advise to do your very best, to make your best effort in everything you do, because good grades pay off. You see, I have a master's degree, and it's a $10,000 master's degree. And I'm telling you this not to boast. I'm telling you this because I had the scholarship to get that tuition. I didn't have $10,000 to pay for a master's degree. But you know what I had? I had good grades at Isaiah University. And those good grades at Isaiah University became the key that opened up more doors into my life. And here I am, teaching, being a professor here at Isaiah University. Yeah, that's the reason why I like to give back. That's the reason why I'm here. I'm not here for a paycheck. I'm here because I feel connected. I feel identified with my students as well. I've been there. I've been sitting in the audience like you have. And with education and with preparation, I took that value, and now I try to inculcate that value, that worth, and that investment, that we are here to invest in ourselves, to preparing ourselves. And just like the first video we saw, if you start sponsoring yourself, people will start investing in you. And that is something that I'd like you to keep as a message for today and in this forum, because this forum aims not only at the experience of being a teacher, but at the value of learning English, the value of giving your best effort, and also motivation for those who want to become a teacher and want to improve the system in the region. And that's what we're here for. So now to continue, I'm going to talk about, I will talk about the elements to be a professional teacher. There are several elements that we learn that are important in teaching. So I'm going to mention a few. The first one we have is planning, adaptability and diversification, patience, empathy, and finally, last but not least, research and continuous learning. So I'm going to touch a little bit on each one of these aspects, and we'll begin with planning right here. So what is planning? First off, planning is the document that describes our lesson. It's a document that describes our objectives, our goals for a class. It helps us organize our thoughts. It helps us organize everything we're doing in the class. And it doesn't need to be complicated. As a matter of fact, the simpler, the better. Yeah, because this is a guide that aims at facilitating the lesson. This includes the goal. The goal is what the student needs to learn. That's the first thing. The second thing that includes is how this goal will be achieved, the method and the procedure, right, that we need to follow through. And finally, we need to find a measurable way to see how the student learned and how well the students learned that lesson or achieved that goal, that learning objective. And that comes with an assessment. It can be a test, it can be a task, it can be a wrap-up activity, or even a warm-up activity the next day. But it's important that we keep that planning going, mostly because this is going to define how well our class will be. And I learned that amongst all of our, let's say, our task as a teacher, we have administrative tasks, the deliverance of the class. Planning is the most important aspect, and is the aspect in which you should focus most of your time as a teacher. With that being said, we have the adaptability and diversification. As a good teacher, you must adapt your lessons. You must adapt your lessons to how the students learn. So this comes along with planning. So in this case, we want to adjust our classes while developing oral expression in our students, writing skills, listening, and reading and comprehension. This needs also patience, because we know that being a teacher is not an easy thing. It's not an easy thing. It's complicated, and sometimes it's not as regarded as we would like, but it's one of the most important jobs in this world. You know why? Because being a teacher is not just being an employee. It's not just being a collaborator. Yeah, it's shaping and arousing to transform other people's lives. It's a humanitarian act. That's what we're here for. Yeah, to help improve our system and our community. Yes, so patience, right? Patience is extremely necessary. Teachers, we are not beings from another dimension. So it's only common that oftentimes we find ourselves frustrated or unmotivated by the job's perks. Sometimes we have unwilling students with lack of motivation, yeah, with little desire to work. So we need students who need special attention. So with all of this being said, a good teacher should be able to have lots of patience in order to overcome the difficulties of this career, because frustrations will arise. That's guaranteed. So along those lines of patience, we have empathy. Empathy is an important thing. I like to talk a little bit about this empathy part. You see, through empathy, understanding the students, where they come from and what their goals are. In this case is to learn English and to become an English teacher, right? It is important that as a teacher, we support the students. Yeah, we support them and we guide them. We build trust like that, because learning a second language or learning any new language can be very motivating and satisfying, right? But what happens when we're learning? Are we confident? Are we? Do you feel confident when you go to your first French class? Do you feel confident when you go to your first English class? No, right? Sometimes you think that you don't have what it takes, and so on and so forth. These are all misconceptions. As teachers, we guide them. Yeah, we try to be a guide for them. So through support and motivation, we help the students overcome that embarrassment that comes with learning a new language. Have you heard before this phrase? And I hear this a lot. I can listen to English and understand. I can read and understand. I can write some of it, but boy, I can't talk. I can't talk. Have you heard that before? Yeah. Okay. Well, if the person cannot talk, it's not because it's not able to. It's simply because they haven't been guided properly. So empathy is important, because when you empathize with the students, they can overcome this obstacle. They can start practicing. They don't worry about mispronouncing. They're not going to worry about making grammar mistakes. They will know that all of this is part of the learning process. So now your classes become healthy. Now your students dare to try. Because if you don't speak, you're not an English bilingual. You're not. You're just an English student. Because you don't speak the language, you're an English student. So here I want to also advise one thing for all the students here. If you want to be bilingual, don't keep it quiet in the classroom. Don't talk Spanish to your classmates. On the contrary, talking Spanish in an English class is counterproductive. It's not what you're aiming for. It's not what you're coming here for, right? So always try to speak English with your peers, with your professor, at any chance you're given. At any chance, and try to influence yourself as well. Try to watch programs in English with subtitles in English, read, constantly practice, constantly influence yourself, because you have everything it takes. You have all it takes. You have all of the capacity in the world, especially because you already speak Spanish. So that means that your mental process of the language is perfectly fine. You just need to start speaking. And when you start speaking, you become bilingual. If you don't speak, you want to be an English student, go ahead. You may be an English student, but you want to be a bilingual, start talking. Okay. Next, we have, I went too ahead of myself. Okay. Next, we have research and continuous learning. About this, research and continuous learning is a very important thing, because we're not native speakers. A lot of us, a lot of our teachers that built the language, they did it through a lot of studying. Not many teachers were born in the States and then came here to Panama to start working, right? So research and continuous learning is very important, because remember, the world is ever changing and languages are always evolving. So you need to evolve as well. And this only happens through nurturing, through researching, through practicing, because a good teacher needs to build a solid knowledge and understanding of the grammar, vocabulary, pronunciation of the language that they are teaching. So you need to see and find yourself constantly, coming to new books, going to conferences, if you're able to, studying more in-depth the lessons that you want to teach. As a matter of fact, you should learn what you would like to teach. And when you learn it well, you should be able to teach it well. Okay, again, research and continuous learning. Okay, so upon research and continuous learning, we build several skills and qualities, several strengths as well. And we can talk about a lot of them tonight, but we're going to mention 3 that I have considered to be some of the most important strengths that a teacher can build communication skills, confidence, and then the aforementioned empathy and patience, right? So teachers develop multiple strengths and qualities. And one of the strengths and qualities that I would consider it has been one of the most important for me has been confidence. Confidence in delivering a well thought out lesson plan. Because by delivering a well thought out lesson plan, you're able to face many challenges. We can face many challenges of an engaging group, for example. We can show more empathy and patience as well. And this in turn brings empathy. And with this, we can inspire students, because when the students see the level of preparation of a teacher and then they see that they're learning every time, they start feeling much better. And then you create an impact. You build trust. And when the student trusts you, they connect and engage with you much more. So very important to have confidence and to invest a lot of time in your lesson planning. It doesn't mean that you're going to invest 3-4 hours on a day of class, but you should invest more time. Yeah, we can learn that we can prepare a lesson planning in 15 minutes, but imagine if you take 20, 30, or 40, that lesson may have a better impact. So keeping most of the time to focus on lesson planning, it would be my recommendation in order to build confidence and to prepare good lesson planning. All right. So as you can see here, we continue with the importance of giving continuous preparation in your areas of teaching, in this case, English. One of the benefits of continuous preparation in this area of teaching is that the educator is able to get new tools, to incorporate new tools in their lesson plannings. And by incorporating new tools, you're going to boost the learning strategies, because now you have more elements, you have more knowledge. And these strategies can help boost the development and the performance and the learning process of your students in turn. Then innovation. By learning new tools, by learning new strategies, you may also innovate. And innovation is important because it helps you with adaptability. Innovation brings forth adaptability because now you have more tools, more resources, more methods, more strategies, more ways of approaching the students, because every student is a different world. It's a different universe. They have different ways of learning. That's why we have multiple intelligences. So adaptability, it's a very important thing here, because let's say, for instance, speaking of diversification, for instance, we may have a class, we may have an activity, which primary objective could be, for instance, oral expression. But then you have students that like to draw, you have students that like music, you have students that like to speak a lot or do things. Perhaps you can, let's say, for instance, have an activity for them that ultimately will bring everyone to do an oral expression, to build an oral expression. Yeah, let's say that I want to have a narrative, and the theme would be, let's say, for instance, the theme would be something that we are familiar with, a narration. Let's say The Ugly Duckling. Yeah, The Ugly Duckling. And then you can have the different ways of approaching the same activity, right? You can have a group of students that like to draw with visuals, so they can draw their visuals and follow the guideline of the story. Others can hear an audio and then build a narrative from the audio. Others can see a story, a written story, and then they read, and then from there they can summarize and start developing, and so on and so forth. So you will have different approaches of the same class and have the same objective, which is to build oral expression. And then eventually you grow. Eventually you grow because now you have more resources. Now you're more wholesome as a teacher because you're stepping out of your comfort zone. And it's in that moment when you step out of the comfort zone and you enter this panic zone that you expand and grow. Because if not, you're always going to be like an egg inside a shell. But when you break through that, you evolve. So that's this is a characteristic of an excellent teacher. You see, because when you are continuously preparing yourself, that means that you are passionate about the work that you do. And this is what makes an excellent teacher, a teacher who is passionate about the work that they do, and versatile, meaning adaptive. In other words, we must become intentional to connect with our students. Teaching English as a foreign language requires both verbal and nonverbal communication skills, and maintaining student engagement as well. So I want to end this forum, my participation, by saying that we are not perfect. We are work in progress. And we can improve because we can learn. And that's what education is aiming for, our improvement. So remember this, sponsor yourself, and they will start investing in you. I want to close with a video. The video is in Spanish, but it has a strong message that I want to share with you tonight. And I want to thank you for being here and thank you for listening to this forum's participation. Okay.
Hay una frase de Séneca que me encanta que dice: la suerte es donde confluyen la preparación y la oportunidad. Hay que prepararse, hay que saber, hay que estudiar, porque el que se prepara, el que estudia, el que visualiza lo que quiere, es capaz de percibir mucho mejor las oportunidades. ¿Quién es el principal inhibidor del sistema reticular activador ascendente, de ese rastreador del cerebro? La pantalla. ¿Por qué? Porque las cosas buenas de la vida suceden en la vida real. La vida virtual va a base de gratificaciones instantáneas, esos chispazos de dopamina de los que hablábamos, y son diseñadas para ser adictivas.
What a great presentation we just witnessed. Congratulations, Professor Exa, for this outstanding presentation. And you killed it tonight. So thank you so much for that. We haven't finished yet. We have a lot more to offer. And I'm very honored and proud to present Benny Castillo, who is a current student here at ISAT University. Please welcome him, also addressing the topic for the forum. Please welcome him.
Well, thanks very much, everyone over here. It's a pleasure for me. The teacher invited me, also the partners I have already, great teachers. I really enjoy your conference, and I will apply some of these things. Okay, as a student, we have a different conceptions, right? Because it's not the same to be a teacher as a student. When you are sitting down there, it's totally different. It seems like the teacher has the power, right? So the first day you came here, you are really afraid or not? Yes, right? So I think something, before I will start with my topic, I will tell you when was my first time that I decided to be a teacher, okay? I remember, guys, that I was studying United States in Missouri. I was studying for language arts because my purpose was like to create videos, movies, and everything. Everyone has their own goals. But once I was taking the career in the Missouri University, I saw different kind of teachers. And I believe that one of the teachers who really impacted me was Rebecca Lobster. The first day she came, she was sitting down like with everyone. And we were expecting, where's the teacher? And we were sharing everyone and saying like, hey, did you see the teacher? No, I don't know. Even she was sharing with us. Like, hey, do you know how it's going to be the teacher? No, not really. That's weird because it's very late. So I believe that we need to leave. And we said, well, probably yes. Probably we're going to leave. But once we were supposing to leave in, she said like, I'm the teacher. And we were like, okay, we were sharing something different and we were sharing some expectation about the teacher. But first of all, that she did was give us the confidence to talk to her. Okay. And this form impacted me so much that it started in my mind like this concept to be an English teacher, because I said, hey, you really can't change the mind of someone, right? Because it's not the same when you are a teacher or a student. When you are a teacher, of course, you have the chance to do whatever you want. If you want to stand up the students, you need to do it. If you want to call a student to talk there, he needs to do it. Of course, if he want a good score. But what about the confidence of this student? How this student feel? If this student really feel that you are helping him, he's going to feel what? That he has the power and you just need to obey. That's it, right? So that's why now I'm a teacher at INADE in language art. I used to teach creating plays and also creating musicals. And the first things I try to do is to give my student confidence. They feel free to talk to me, okay? And this kind of course, guys, at INADE is not easy. Why? Because that's not mandatory. If the student wants to leave, they can do it. Once a course is not with enough amount of students, they close you the course. That's simple. So I try every time to be confident and to create a relationship with my student in order that he first think that I'm not just a teacher, I'm also your friend. If he really needs something, I will help him. Why not? We're in this world to help everyone, right? Okay, thanks. Let's go over here. Okay, to start, okay? Next. Okay, what were your expectations when entering the English major at ISAI University? Well, I have been a teacher at INADE over 15 years. But I was thinking like, I'm okay with INADE. I'm a permanent teacher, so I don't have any trouble there. But I was thinking like, why not to teach at university? Why not to teach in school? Why not to bring the same message to the students? Why not to change the form the teacher used to teach, right? And I'm not talking about like to give so much confidence that the student can tell you something wrong. No, I'm talking about to create confidence that if the student needs something, he's going to know that you are going to help him, okay? Not with money, of course, or not with, you can help him with what? With a word. Sometimes people just need a word. Sometimes people just need to say something good for them. They have a bad day. You are now here, and I didn't know it was easy to come over here. I didn't know, right? Maybe you were in a traffic jam. Maybe you have a headache. Maybe you don't feel comfortable. Maybe you had many troubles in your house. And if I didn't, first of all, enter in this, you are not going to be paying me attention at 100%. Why? Because you're going to be thinking in everything you have in your house, right? You're going to be thinking, hey, I really need to buy something in my house that I didn't have. You are not going to be in class. You are in the class, but your mind is in another place. So that's why, that's my opinion as a student. Of course, I also a teacher, but I'm saying as a student. And that's why I'm here, to give the chance that you listen also the student view, because it's not the same, right? Can you? Expectation. First of all, I will tell you something, guys. I was looking for so many universities to study, and I think that one of the best things this university has is the schedule. Don't let me lie to you, okay? Because I really used to work every day, so it's very difficult to me to come Monday to Friday. So it's better to study. So the schedule for the first. Second one, my expectation is that I need to learn a lot with those very experienced teachers. And I know here that we have a lot of great teachers. I had the opportunity to work with some of them, like the teacher here, and she was a great teacher. I really like her way to teach. And I told her, I think I told you, right? That you really had a good way to teach. The same with the teacher here. She was very nice, guys. And she create those teachers create this empathy. So you feel free to talk to them. You really like to talk to them. You don't feel like if I say this to the teacher is going to yell at me. No, because you feel confidence. You feel free, like, as a student, I also need this, not just the teachers, right? So that's what's my expectation. And now I'm thinking this expectation have been covered because all the teachers I have been in the class with them, they are really good. Okay, can you? No, not so happy. What elements do you develop or are you developing to be a professional in teaching English? Okay, he mentioned, can you press? He mentioned some elements, that's great. As a teacher, that's great to know. And that's great to know about planning, that's good. Teacher needs to plan. I think that planning is really good. I know this, but now I'm in the student position. And the first I think the teacher needs to have is personality. And the first they need to have. If the teacher came here like very boring and you being like just listening him, let me tell you the truth. Maybe you're going to sleep. Probably. You're going to be sleeping in the class. And the teacher came like so bored, you're going to be boring, guys. If I smile with you, what are you going to feel? You're going to smile with me, even you didn't know. Because I transmit these feelings to you, right? So that's the first thing I think as a student, of course, not as a teacher. The teacher needs to have personality. They need to come here and be like explosive teacher. Hey, we're going to do something now good. And we're really going to enjoy this class. So everyone is going to be paying attention. What is going to happen next? That teacher is giving me like the experience that I'm always going to learn something new, right? But if the teacher came with a page and I start reading a page or projector or whatever they want, what is going to happen? You're going to feel bored. You need to interact with the students. They need this feeling. They feel that you really care them. And how you do that? With personality, of course. Because no one who didn't have a personality, guys, is going to be a good teacher. No. There is a lot of teachers. But there is a lot of teachers who didn't teach in the best way, I can tell you. I have been working in different places, and I saw some teachers that they used to be like a robot. They're reading. The student's supposed to get the knowledge from there. Do you think that's correct? No. The students are going to be bored. And when the student failed, they said, I don't know. The student didn't pay attention. How they're going to pay attention? If you are doing this in this way that the student feel bored, the first you need to do is try to get the students, wake up. They didn't know what is going to happen. And they are going to feel like, this subject is going to be real good. Even if it's not, it's going to be. Why? Because you are transmitting this. And this is something that I think, guys, that every teacher needs to have. Once they came to the class, the first thing they need to do is try to get the student feeling good. That's true. That's a university, and that's a private university. If the student didn't pay, we don't have a job. Simple. Right? So what do you need to do? You need to encourage the student to feel good coming at the university. That's something seems like, well, I study a lot, so I don't need to do the no. That's not true. The truth is that if you are a teacher, it's because you want to teach. If you want to teach, it's because you want to transform someone. But how you can transform someone if you are so bored? If you came angry to the classroom. Everyone sit down, please. I don't want nobody speaking. And then you say, I don't know why the student didn't want to sign up to speak. Of course, they're going to be very afraid to do it because you are not so confident. And the student will believe like, if I say something wrong, the teacher is going to yell at me. That's true, guys. And it happened to me several times in different universities. And in school also, there are some teachers that are really rude, and they believe that that's the way to teach. They believe that's a good way to teach. And they believe that they are the best teacher of the world. But what happened? When you see the subject, you see that 50% of the students failed. So what it means? Is the student troubles? No, I don't think so. If you have like a 10%, oh, I can't believe you. But if you have more than 50%, something is wrong with you as a teacher, not with the student. Something is happening because you want to force something. And teach is not forcing, guys. What is teach? When you wake up in the morning and you go to your car and you lost your keys, you learn. Why? Because next time you didn't find the keys, next time you're going to place the keys in a good position. That's learning. That's how the life teach you, right? If you fail down, next time you're going to be careful. That's learning. We cannot learn in things that we know how to do it. Because I know how to walk. Am I learning there? No, of course not. I didn't need to think about to work. I know how to drink water. Am I learning there? No, I am not. So if you know teaching is something so simple, why some teacher wants to be very rude with the student? Because I want that my subject, he believed my subject is the best subject of this university. That's not true. That's not true. And when you realize that's not true, probably you affected a lot of students. And there are a lot of students outside that they didn't want to continue studying anymore because they felt that the university didn't give them a chance. And those teachers are still working in the university, and those students didn't want to continue because they thought that that's impossible. And that's why we need to be very careful with the student, because we are talking with people, not with animals. We need to be careful about the feelings because we are talking about people, not animals. It could be your son. If you have a son and then your son have the same treatment, maybe you say, I'm a teacher, I'm going to go to university to talk with this teacher. Now, yes, right? But what happened with the rest of the students? You did the same. You destroy their life, you destroy their dreams. And English is not so difficult, guys. English is easy. If you see, guys, if you go to United States, you're going to find a lot of people who know how to speak English and they don't have a career. Some of them, they have some mind problems. And you can talk to them, you're going to see that they speak well. So it means learn English is not so difficult. It means it's just practice, right? And if you didn't practice with a student, of course they're going to learn. If you make a wall in front of your class, your students are not going to stand up. Your students are going to believe like, once I stand up, she is going to be angry because I didn't understand. So that's my point of view. And I think I represent the student, right? Because it's not the same. That's your point of view. I respect your point of view, but that's totally different in the other side. When you are in this side, you see the things different, right? Okay, the other things is methodology. Teaching methods, knowledge, and skill. Guys, as I told you, one teacher will come to read. That's no methodology. Teacher who came just to give paper to the student, that's no methodology. Because when we talk about methodology, guys, it's because we need to research about the methods are better for this class. So you need to bring some different methods. Why not to bring a son? Why not to do some activities in class? Why you have just to read? And then you say like, no, those students didn't speak because they didn't practice. How they're going to practice if your method is not working? Pay attention yourself. Pay attention yourself as a teacher. If you are teaching and your students are not learning, something is wrong with your methodology. Something is wrong. And it's not like, no, because all the students I have, they are not so smart. That's not true. Everyone is so smart, guys, because you can learn whatever you want. So that's something that I really said that methodology and skills need to be very good and according to the class. So if I have a class, guys, that I can introduce a movie, that I can introduce a song, that I can talk with a student, that I can make something over here, I will do it. It's this student will learn more with experience than with your papers. Let me tell you the truth. If I call someone over here and I ask them to do something, he's not going to forget this anymore in his life. But if I give him a paper, probably the next day he's going to forget. Probably. Why? Because you did it. First of all, your methodology is wrong. Second one, you didn't give the chance to this student to believe that this is going to be something great for him. You know, when I see those pages, like 10 pages the teacher gave me, I believe like, that teacher is crazy. He's going to give me 10 pages to read by myself, and he's not interacting with me. So how he supposed that I learned 100% of those papers just because he's giving me? If I want to learn this way, I go to the library and take a book. That's it. No, that's true. If I want to learn this way, I can buy a newspaper and just read. But I'm here is because I really want to know another way to learn, to teach. If you didn't do it this way, you're going to be doing the same as many teachers are doing now. And they're believing like they are the master. Sorry, that's not true. Because you need to interact with the students. You need to create this feeling with the student. The student needs to feel good with you. They need to feel comfortable with you. They need to know that every time he knows something, you are going to help him. Okay, in the knowledge, in everything. And that's why I think that this methodology is not to bring a paper and not to bring a book and give to the student the book. That's not a way to teach, guys. And the student really do not enjoy that. I can tell you, I can give you a 10 pages with some information, and probably you're going to read, probably not. And maybe you read, you're going to forget like an hour, probably. So that's not permanent knowledge. And English needs permanent knowledge, because this knowledge you need to use every single day. Because the other way how you can have a conversation could be the page. All information could be the page. But how can I transmit this information to someone if you didn't use the correct methodology? Right? So thinning the student, not just in the teachers. You're good. You have everything. That's okay. But think also in the student, because you're not going to be all the life being a teacher. Right? And we are, as a teacher, we're supposed to be what? Instructing new teachers. If you destroy the dreams, probably the students are going to you create are the same as you, and they are going to come with the same methodology. And this is going to be a chain, repeating the same situation every single time. Okay, language, knowledge, and use, guys. Okay, I don't know why teacher likes to do something. When they are going to teach, they start with the most simple thing. Verb to be. Let's go to talk about verb to be. That's not bad, verb to be. But why you teach verb to be like in a board? Why didn't you have interaction with the student? Why didn't you practice with the student? Why didn't you, instead to give a paper to the student, you stand up the student and say, you know, we're going to practice verb to be. We're going to do some sentences and you create your sentences back. That's experience, guys. And this experience is going to be better for your students. And this student will remind you as a good teacher. And he's going to take this knowledge and will say, hey, you know, I really like some way that the teacher taught me. And I was thinking like, you know, I will take this because I really like it. And when you impact the student, guys, let me tell you the truth. The student will never forget you. Will never. Because if I ask you about some teacher, probably you can remember two kinds of teacher. The good teacher and the terrible teacher. It's the only one you can remember. Yes. When you ask in the school, do you remember your teacher? You remember the good teacher who helped you a lot and the terrible teacher who was to yelling at you. That's the only two teachers you're going to remember in your life. The rest of them, no. So why I want to be this teacher, the bad teacher for a student? No, I want really to be a good teacher for this student. So he's going to think like, you know, I'm going to be an English teacher because this teacher impact me. Okay, can you go? What do you consider to be your greatest strength in your current role? Well, I think, can you continue? I think that my strength is that I'm very hardworking and I'm very dedicated, of course. And I know that sometimes all the students try to be very hardworking, but they have some troubles. And sometimes these troubles are not easy, you know, to overcome. But at least, guys, something that you need to do, even if you have a good teacher, you need to work hard, okay? You need to be a hardworking student because that's the only way you can get this knowledge for you. Maybe with this conference, we're not going to change anyone. Maybe yes, maybe not. But you know something, that's your life. So if you didn't work hard, you didn't try to keep your dreams, let me tell you, the teacher will continue doing the same and you're going to be out. They're going to be doing the same. So what it means, you need to work hard. Nobody can tell you that that's impossible. That's not true. That's not true, guys. Language is the easiest things that you can learn. I speak 4 languages. What it means, that's not difficult. Because the only you need to do is practice. You need to do hard work and dedication. That's simple. In your house, guys, even the teacher didn't give you the materials to do something, try to do by yourself. That's your life. Nobody can change that in your mind. Right? Nobody can say, you know, this knowledge is not yours, so I will keep back this knowledge. No, that's yours. Nobody can take it. So even it happened, guys, because we can talk over here. People can see this, but probably they can believe like, you know, that man is crazy. Because it's easy to do it the same way. Let me tell you something, guys. If you really want to learn English, you need to do those things, hard work and dedication. So you need to take at least 1 or 2 hours every day, guys, to practice your English. At least I did it. I remember the first time when I went to the university, I didn't speak English. Everyone, I was speaking a little bit, but not so much. So it was a little bit difficult. But then, you know, they told me like, well, you have 2 options. You can stay here or you can leave to take another thing. No, I'm not this kind of guy. I'm not going to quit so easy. I prefer to do it. Even some of the teachers I had were very rude. I continue by myself. Okay, so that's something that I recommend you guys. That's some strength that you really need in your life. Okay, nobody can say that you are wrong. Try to do it your way. Why not? Everyone has a different ways to learn. You cannot change the mind of everyone. Maybe you can say, no, he's not so smart because he didn't learn with this form. You don't know. That guy may be learning a different way. Use your own way, guys. In a language, something very important is that you enjoy it. Because people said, how do you learn English? I like to read. But if you don't like to read, what is going to happen? You're going to take the book and in 10 minutes, you're going to be sleeping. Because our brain works in this way. When you have something that you don't like, your brain immediately wants to change. If you continue doing no, because the teacher told me that I need to learn English using this movie, and the movie is from 1958. What do you think is going to happen? When the movie is in 15 minutes, you're going to feel asleep. And probably you're not going to be paying attention. Probably you're going to be in your cell phone. And the movie finished. What did you learn about the movie? Nothing, because I was speaking with my friend. So once you need to do, guys, is find something that really help you, okay? That you really enjoy. If I like to play video games, well, learn English playing video games. Why not? If I like music, learn English with music. If you like reading, learn English with reading. You are not the same as anyone. Even here, if I can see yourself, you are not similar to me. Right? I'm more handsome. Nah, I'm joking. But yes, okay. It means like you are not the same. So you are not the same. It means you need to do the things different according to yourself. no according to any teacher, no according to my partner who told me like, the way to learn English this. No, do by yourself, okay? And that is going to really help you guys because you're going to really enjoy it. You're going to really be like happy with this methodology. You're going to be like, hey, I really want to watch the next chapter because I really like it. But if not, guys, let me tell you the truth. Nothing is going to happen because your brain immediately is going to stop the knowledge. Immediately, guys. When you try to do something that you don't like, your brain, block and it start thinking another thing. Hey, Pizza Hut is open today. Yes. And you think, no, I need to continue reading. I need to pay attention. Hey, your wife is outside. So what is she doing? Right? Because your brain is going to change your mind because your brain didn't like it. So why you continue doing the same? Change your mind, okay? Change your mind. What importance do you give to continued preparation in your area? Well, as the teacher mentioned before, that's really important, guys. I stopped studying some years because I was working at DINADE and I had the permanence. So I was like, I don't need to study anymore. But not really, guys. Something that really is something that's really going to be helping you as a teacher also is study. Because you can be in the student position. You can know what the student feel. And then you can apply this in your class. You can know what's going on with the student. Because once you be a teacher, you have a different mind. And you already think like you done. And that's not true. And first of all, you need to continue studying. Second one, because of course, it is going to help in your career. Why not? Why not? You finish the career and then you have a lot of opportunities. Why not? You need to give it a chance. You deserve it, right? You deserve it because you're a really good human being. So why not? So I always told you guys, it's really important, guys, to continue, guys, preparation in your area. It's really important, guys. It's really important that you've been like all the time getting new knowledge. The knowledge is changing. One student from now is not going to learn the same as one student in 10 years. Just see the social media. Or social media was Facebook. If you talk with a student about Facebook, what he's going to tell you? A kid, you are very old, right? Because it's not the same. No, but Facebook is better. It doesn't matter. They don't like Facebook. It's not going to work. So it's the same, guys, as the knowledge. If you didn't study, you didn't get new form to teach, you're going to be like stuck. I remember a teacher, well, that was not English teacher, not really, but she was teaching me, I forgot the word, history of Panama and United States. And she sent us to buy a book from 1918. Maybe because he liked it, this book. But when I was starting reading this book, guys, I was really bored. You know what I did? I went to YouTube and looked for a book. Yes, I did it. It was impossible for me to read this. It was so boring, guys, because that's not the same era. You need to know that. You are not the same as the student. They have different thinkings. They have different thoughts. You have different ways to think too. So why you want to force them to use your way? Why? Because you never change your mind. Okay. Always, guys, we're going to talk about different things that you need to do, okay? Success, creativity, idea, innovation, and inspiration. When you study, guys, first of all, you're going to be success. Second one, you're going to have better ideas, and you're going to be more creative, right? You're going to have better rules for your students. Also, you're going to innovate. If you came to the class, like the teacher did, I really like this, TikTok. Well, hey, that's great. When the people saw TikTok, well, hey, that's great, right? Because that's on my era. But if a teacher came with something from, let me invent something, Vimeo, people is going to believe, hey, that teacher is not so updated. And this, guys, when you start with a video, and the video is from an old source, a student immediately will believe you that you are so old. Yes, immediately say, nah, that teacher is old. He's going to teach like 20 years ago. That's not the same era. And you are going to change the mind. Or you came with something like this, that the student will be, hey, that teacher is good because he really understands us. He really like the same. So that's why you need always study, because you need to be like always in the same page as them. Okay, also inspiration. Guys, we inspire students when we are a good teachers. Simple. If you are not a good teacher, of course, the student is going to hate you for the rest of the life. That's the truth. And probably you are a great teacher, and probably you have a lot of knowledge. Well, you guess what? That this student is going to block the mind because he's going to believe that you are not a good teacher. It happened, guys. Like, you know, it happened when you are going to know like a first meeting, right? You try to get a first meeting and you saw them, I don't know, I don't like this man, right? Why? Because the first things that we did is see with the eyes what is happening there in front of us. The first things, that's the first impression. And once I got a bad impression of this guy, it's very difficult to change my mind. It didn't happen to you guys that you saw someone say, hey, this guy, I don't like this guy. Even the guy is good. And then 5 years later, you realize that the guy was good, but you didn't give a chance. But the same happened, and we are adults. We're supposed to know this knowledge. Like, you know, I supposed not to think bad of this guy because the first impression. But even with it, imagine now, got kids, guys with 20, 18 years old, 22, 23. Do you think they're going to think like you? No, that's not true. They're going to have a different way of thinking. And you are impacting them in a wrong way. And they are going to feel that this university has the worst teacher ever. Yes. One teacher can make this. The student believe like, you know, I didn't continue in this side because those teachers are terrible. So you're destroying the university too. That's true. You're destroying, because if the people didn't want to study, guess what? You don't have class. So you cannot be like the saying. Always, we need to be improving, guys. Always give new experience to the student. Always be innovating. If you see something new and can be applicable to the class, do it. Why not? That's a better learning. There's a better way to learn. They are going to feel impacted. They're going to feel good with you. Go ahead, continue. What are the characteristics of a good English teacher? As I told you guys, qualities of a good teacher: good communication skills, patient listening skills, deep knowledge of the subject matter, passion for the subject matter, ability to read every child as child, ability to build caring relationships, friendliness and approachability, excellent preparation and organization skills, strong work ethic culture, and communicative building skill. They're the quality of a good teacher, and yes, but you know, I will concentrate in some of them. The teacher can have a lot of knowledge, guys, but if you'll have passion, that's right. Because first of all, the student are going to feel bored. Second one, the student will believe that you don't know. Even you know. It happened, guys. Even you know. Because you don't have passion. You can't like, I'm working because if I stay in my house, I'm not going to pay my bills. It happened with some teachers. And you transmit this to the student. Once you sit down with you know, with a Rottweiler face, the student will notice you're angry. And this student immediately will do a perception of you right away. I was going to think, you know, wow, that teacher, we are going to have a hard time with this teacher. That's true. Even it's not true. But you are transmitting this, because that's why we need always, guys, to be passionate. If you have everyone has trouble. The student has trouble too. And they cannot tell you like, you need to stand up and write on the board. No, I don't want to do. No, they cannot do it. Because once they did, you're going to be angry with this student, right? Why not in the other way? Why not? Why not to be like very proactive, very passionate? The student feel that you really are interested in the class and you really are interested in him. So he's going to be very good and excited with your class. Okay. Can you continue? Okay, well, I have this, guys. Just to finish, guys, over here. Well, you know, I really like to be both teacher and a student. That's why I'm here. And I really like to continue studying because I believe, guys, that if the teacher didn't have an interaction with the student, we'll never understand a student. We'll never understand a student. They can understand everything, the subject. They can understand everything. They can be a professional. But you know what? That's human being. And the human being is totally different. So you really need to be very proactive, guys, passionate, and encourage your students to continue learning. Thank you very much.
A massive thanks to you, Mr. Castillo, for such an outstanding presentation. We have just seen two different perspectives from the teacher and from the learner, right? Very interesting information they have shared, haven't they? Right? Very good. Now, our last speaker for tonight, I'm very privileged and honored to introduce her to the audience. And she was a student here at ISAT University. She has many years of experience as a teacher. And today she's going to share her experience with us, why she decided to become a teacher. Without any further ado, I'd like to introduce Ms. Nilam Kemlani. Please welcome her.
Good evening. This one? Okay. Gotcha. Thank you. Good evening, esteemed staff and ISAI students. It is a pleasure to be here tonight. My name is Nilam Kemlani, and today I am going to be talking about embracing English. And the reason why I chose this title, Embracing English, more than just being an alliterative phase for those who are into English a lot and literary devices, which is what I love. It's the mentality, it's the attitude that you take when you decide to embark upon the journey of becoming an English teacher. Today, I will be sharing a little bit about my professional accomplishments. I hold a diversified teaching degree in English in secondary education with an emphasis in translation, a master's in higher education, a bachelor's degree in English with emphasis in translation, and a bachelor's degree in psychology. I am currently working as an English teacher in a middle school at a private institution in Panama. And at the same time, I'm a professor at Universidad Especializada de las Américas, where I am a teacher of teachers. And for me, this is a way of giving back to the community. This is a way of sharing and spreading my love of English to the community. But before anything, before we begin, that's just a short intro of me. Before we begin, I would like to just share pieces of my heart, people, places, and things that fill me with joy and love. I remember the rector who came earlier on speaking about joy, and it resonated in me. And I was surprised to hear the same phrases that I had in mind for today's speaking at today's conference. I believe that one should always begin from a place of love and joy, because if you love what you do and you find joy in that, your everyday chores do not become chores. They become a pleasure. As is mentioned by a famous poet Rumi, let the beauty of what you love be what you do. And it is in teaching that I find my passion, in teaching English. But let me just start a little bit before that, because this is going to be a story about how I, as an became an English teacher, though that was not how things began. Okay. Okay, so back in the time, little did I know, right? I am a native English speaker. My family is of an Asian background, and I have been speaking English all my life. In fact, I learned Spanish living in Panama, going to Panamanian school, but all my life I've spoken in English, be it with my friends, my family. And little did I know that that powerful language would take me a long way. As I grew up, my first thoughts were definitely not about English because I took it as a granted, as a given. My thoughts were basically into looking at thinking about the mind. I was fascinated with how the mind worked. And I said to myself, nope, I'm going to be a psychologist. Nope, I'm going to be a sociologist. Definitely not an English teacher. For goodness, no. But life has a way of changing. And, before you knew it, here I was, passionate about English, passionate about how things changed. And only several years after getting my degree and specializing in English did I realize that this was under my nose all the time. And I did not even realize how impactful it would be in my life. So this is where Isai University comes into place, because my knowledge as an English teacher is empirical. I have knowledge because I've been speaking English all my life. But when it came to teaching English, it was completely different. I had to get an accreditation. I had to get a degree. So my coming into Isai comes as a response of me wanting to substantiate, to back up my knowledge, my empirical knowledge, with theoretical knowledge and academic knowledge. And so this is where I come into Isai University as a learner of the English language, already knowing English, which was a bit strange, a learner of the English language with emphasis in translation, as that degree was available at that time. And so graduating from Isai was amazing. But I think more than graduating from this prestigious institution was the fact that even though I had been practicing English as a teacher in private settings and in schools, I had already got my master's in teaching and learning. I went back, and surprisingly enough, I had a lot to gain from each and every one of my teachers. I'm honored to have a couple of them in the audience, which are dear to my heart. And the fact that I was here and learned from each and every one of the teachers here valuable lessons speaks for itself. Having a native speaker learning. Yes, I learned academically. I learned a lot having to do extras with pedagogy. But what I want to say is that being in this university, being surrounded by these amazing teachers, contributed to furthering me as a professional, changed my mind. They gave me little nuggets of knowledge that helped me along the way. And so upon graduating from Isai University in English, I was able to pursue my career a little bit further. So a lot of you have been asking, right? What is it that makes a good English teacher? What is it that makes them be who they are? And I've heard from both my esteemed colleagues, passion is one, definitely. Another one is being with the times. And for me, it's being your best, giving it all you can, continuous development. And well, in this case, I just wanted to highlight the fact that very recently, I got a chance to be a part of an online school system with Harvard University, where we were looking at visible thinking skills. And the fact that I was able to apply these visible thinking skills with my students, both in an academic setting and in a higher education setting as well, at school and at a university, whereby I am using their minds tapping onto their creativity and their power of question to be able to come up with answers and take out the best in them. And that is part of what we do as educators. And this is also part of just the continuous learning that I've heard from both my esteemed colleagues. As of strengths, a lot of strengths. I think that my unique situation as a psychology major in pairing in with English has helped me a lot. And I strongly believe that in order to be a good teacher, you have to know your students. You have to know what they like, what they don't like. You have to be with the times for sure. IA, well, artificial intelligence, it's AI, sorry, and IA in Spanish. Definitely need to know that. But more importantly, you have to feel for the student. You have to get into their shoes. You, as many of my colleagues mentioned, have to know how their day went, if they feel well, if they don't, because the way they feel affects a lot, has a lot to do with the way they will learn in the future. So a lot of my strengths have to do with social emotional learning, SEL as it's called, and definitely teaching with the heart. Teaching with the heart is very important. Knowing what the student wants, learning and getting to know the student so that we can address their needs. As for excellence, I would say just making sure as a teacher, you have a whole lot of strategies in your tool belt. Because if you don't, then you got a lot to learn, right? That adaptability, the flexibility involved in being a teacher doesn't come easy. It comes with practice. And yes, as one of my colleagues said, we're not perfect. Benny, we're not perfect, right? We learn as we go along. And that is the beauty of being a teacher. We are learning all the time. And that vulnerability, that humility that we should have as teachers is something that we have to spread to our students so that that student is not given nightmares with that famous verb to be, because I know that that is a bone of contention for most of you, right? So yes, a lot of flexibility, adaptability on behalf of the teacher, definitely a lot of organization, because that is important as well. Knowing what you're doing, planning ahead of time, and not only planning your plan A, you need a plan A through Z if necessary, because things are bound to go wrong, right? And simply stated, moving forward is basically for me an opportunity to make sure and share with you as future English teachers or future English students, graduates in English, that English is not hard. English is not hard at all. But what I do want to leave as my final message is the fact that you have to embrace English. Embrace it in every aspect. Let it not be that it's something that is stuck within these four walls. English is more than that. You have to embrace it. That means you have to live it. You have to breathe it. It has to be part of your life. Yes, you do yourself a disservice if you speak Spanish in the English class. Yes, as a teacher, if you do it, even worse. If you don't speak it, as some of my esteemed colleagues said, not good. You need to speak it. You need to practice it. That's all part of embracing it. And so certain tips I'd like to leave as I close for today, and I'm going to make it really short. Watching TV programs. Take away that secondary audio programming, that SAP. Watch them, enjoy them in English. If you don't understand, you always got the subtitles. Listening to music. Now, who doesn't like music? It could be music, and music, I'm sorry, that spans the entire gamut, right? This entire range. You can have modern music, you can have music from the 80s and 70s, and you still learn. That goes across the barrier, gentlemen, honestly. And definitely interacting with people. We're all social beings. And what better way than from learning from each other? So my final message to you, embrace English and make it something you love. Make it something that you don't have to think it's a chore, because if you do it with all your heart, it's a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Nilan, for this awesome presentation. It was great. She kept it short and sweet for us, and that's, nice. I mean, today has been an outstanding moment. We have all shared, great experts, on the topic and area, and we indeed learned, a lot from them. Please note that we also have some time for Q&A, so feel free to ask questions to our speakers now. And if you have a question in mind that you would like to ask them, so please feel free to do so now. So you can raise your hand if you have a question and just go for it. There's a mic around so that we can,
Yes.
yeah, Hector has one of them. So there is a question from the audience. Go for it.
Good evening, teachers. I have a question for every teacher. My classmate. Panelists, for the three panelists, yes. For my first question is for the teacher Axel, that he speak a lot about the elements to develop in teaching, that patience and empathy. I think I will ask you, how do you develop that kind of skills in the how to teach in the university or schools? How do you do you know how to apply those kind of skills?
Teacher Exer is on you now.
That was an excellent question. Very, very glad to hear that you thought of it like that. Well, to be passionate, in other words, can refer to being intentional. Because when you're passionate, you're also intentional about something that you want to learn, you want to apply. And empathy and patience comes along understanding the difficulties and let's say the context of your class. Yeah. So I would say the first main objective should be to be intentional. Is it really what you want to do? What do you want to teach? You must be able to learn before you teach, because teaching, you can teach, but it doesn't guarantee that the students will learn. So it's being intentional in terms of being able to help that student achieve their goals. And what do you expect them to achieve? They need also to learn to read the teacher. This only happens through connection, through engagement. And when the students understand what the teachers want for them to build and how that knowledge will, let's say, edify in their life so that they can apply it in real life, then they start giving value to your classes and giving value to the things that you do. But it is a process. First thing first, be intentional.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for your question. You have one more? Go for it.
Sorry.
Thank you. Hi. So this one's for Professor Neelam. I have a question, and it has to do with your psychological background. So I recently did a research about how the mind thinks with different languages. So my mom is a psychologist, so I'm also really into psychology myself. So I was actually really curious because it says that the brain works differently depending on the language they speak in. Usually the brain like adapts the beliefs, the culture of this pursued language. So I was wondering, what's your take on that? On both ways, as a professor, as a language professor and a psychologist.
Go for it, Teacher Dylan.
Okay, I got one here. Thank you. Thank you very much for that question. So I would say, first of all, as a psychologist, it's a matter of how you approach the behavior and the connections of you. So psychology also deals with the mind's working and the connections that you make as you learn a language. It is well documented that there are people who are born in families where one parent speaks one language, another parent speaks another language. Now, I wasn't born in that type of family. My family only spoke English. However, I did have to adapt, especially when I had to go to school, because I am Panamanian and I did go to a private Panamanian school. And I realized that if I did not speak the language, I'd be without friends, honestly, because the rest of them were learning English. I was a step ahead, but a step behind as well, as you can understand. And I think it has a lot to do with immersion and practice. It came to a point, and I'm giving you my personal story, where when I was at home, the only language that was spoken was English and maybe a little bit of Hindi because I'm Asian, right? But in school, I immediately reverted to Spanish. And the beauty of it is that you can train the mind. And it comes to a point, and I speak here now as a translator, where it's seamless. It's actually seamless when you do this. The key here is not to mix it up. So don't give me Spanglish or don't give me Hindi English, and it's not going to work that way. So that's the point of view as a psychologist. And it's pretty close. The point of view I have as a teacher is pretty much the same. I believe strongly in immersion and in the fact that if you're an English learner and you want to say something and you don't know the right vocabulary word, try any which way you can and you will find it. So as a teacher, your challenge is to maybe simplify that vocabulary. Use sign language if you have to. Do anything you can, but don't revert to the other language. Stay on English, right? So I hope that's answered your question. Thank you very much.
Pretty much.
Thank you for that question, the answer. Who else would like to ask the question?
Yes, I have another question.
Go for it.
It's actually for you. Yeah, because you
Okay.
mentioned something about Spanglish, like don't do the Spanglish. My question would be why you do not recommend not to do the Spanglish.
As much, and I'm a Spanglish speaker. I speak in like 3 or 4 different languages at a time, and I can manage that. But it's good to train your mind to be able to focus on a specific language at a time, just for training's sake, I would say, and just to keep the language clean, so to speak. I hope that's answered your question.
Definitely. Thank
Perfect.
you.
Thank you for that. One more question. We still have time for that. Is there any student who would like to ask the question? We'll have one volunteer in the back. State your name for the record.
Good evening. I have a question for the teacher.
Which one? Exar or
Yeah.
Nilan? Exar.
Yeah. We have a 2 system in Panama. One is a private, another one is a public, right? I have seen the difference. And a public English is a very, very little. Okay, so when a student finish like high school, they don't talk a good English or they cannot understand. The question is, how can we help or change it as a teacher? I think as a system, or we have to work on that. How can do that? How do we can do that? Because in the private, most of the students speak better or understand better. And our public education is like very, very low. How can we work on the future if we're going to be working on the public system?
Okay, that's a very interesting question indeed, because it's also a question that I've asked myself several times before. And I came to the realization that it has nothing to do with the mental capacities of every individual in our classrooms, because everyone is capable. It's a matter of method and approach, I would say. The difference there is between the public system and the private system is a type of supervision level. You see, in the private system, there's a tendency of having more rigorous coordination, supervision, and also there's a higher level of accountability. Yeah, as a teacher, when your students fail or they pass, then you look into it. In the public system, on the other hand, I don't have much experience in public system work because I haven't been in a public school as a teacher, but I have experience as a parent that had a student in a public school at some point in my life. So from the perspective of a parent, through the meetings that I've attended, I've realized that the only reason there is sometimes a little lack of supervision, but it also has to do, I think, with the level of preparation of the teacher as well, because you seem to be a concerned teacher, and being a concerned teacher, it's a benefit for the students. So my advice for you would be, there is no differences in class. It's the approach and the method, because you can be a successful teacher and have a successful group in a public school as well as in a private school. But there are great challenges in the public system. And sometimes one of the greatest challenges that you have in the public system is that you lack the support of the parents, because parents need to be involved. Parents need to be part of the educational development of their students. And oftentimes you come to the realization that in public systems, students have different contexts, different backgrounds, and oftentimes they drop out. And we realize that there is a great need. So I would say that the public system right now has a great challenge. And as a teacher, I would advise to work on creating a connection with your student and try to diversify your classes as much as you can, because it is possible. I know students that come from public schools that speak good English. And it's not because they have an English background or they speak English at home. No. It's because they had a good teacher, somebody who cared, somebody who stepped along and was there for them to support them. It's all about building engagement. It's all about building a relationship with your student. And I would say that will be the primary objective as a teacher. In a public system, build connections with your students and support them as much as you can. They have the capacity. They do.
Teacher Exer, great answer. I don't know if you allow me to say something, regarding to that question. I would like to add something. Yeah. No, I have here. All right. Thank you for that. Great answer. As students and teachers, we have to think about the following, contributing to what the teacher said was an awesome comment. We have to change our system. When you start from pre-kinder to grade 6, you do 7 years. Then you graduate from primary, then you move to middle school, right? So you do 3 years, 7th, 8th, and 9th. Then from middle school, you move to high school, 10th, 11th, and then 12th, and then you graduate. Then you come to the university, you have to say English as well. So it's 4 years. If you do the math at the end, you have been studying English for 17 years. Today, some people do not speak, do not understand, do not write. What is it is taking place now when you have invested so many years? Because English is taught as a subject. English is not a subject, it's a skill. And when you understand that it's a skill, you need to develop the skill. When you apply for a job and then you present your resume, where does English go? Languages, skills, and they pay more. Therefore, languages are skills. If I ask the question here, how many of you know how to play the guitar? One person out of many people who are here. Why? Because playing an instrument is developing a skill as well. So then we have to train our teachers to start developing the skill rather than teaching it as a subject. Example, history, you go to the class, you have to go through the pages to the book, you memorize, you're only ready for the test. But after 2 weeks, you don't remember anything from that because it was just a subject, right? So languages are skills and they need to be developed.
And to develop those skills, apply 2 aspects. One, assessment. Assessment before a lesson, during a lesson, and after a lesson. And apart from assessment, monitoring. So that way you control the development of your students, individually speaking. That will be the key.
Thank you, teacher. Great job. Do you have more questions? I'll go for it.
Yeah, it's linked up to the question, the previous one, and you all did a good job answering, but what will be the advice, I'd like to sum up, for those teachers that are in both private and public? Because sometimes the teachers in private, they do their best to teach. However, when they go to the public, they are very, I don't want to use the term mediocre, but they're more like loose, like, okay. So what advice would you give us that we will become in the future teachers, English teacher, and we may do both or even one? So what
Is
would
that
be the
question for
advice?
me?
For any of the panelists,
All
I
right.
mean, both.
I don't know if you want to go for it or I go for it.
Well, yes. First of all, I believe that once we have passion, we're going to do the job at the same way as we did in a different place. So if the teacher didn't have passion and didn't like what he's doing, of course, in the first opportunity he has, he's going to do nothing because he really didn't enjoy what he's doing. I think that that's the biggest problem, because when you're working in a private school, as the teacher mentioned before, you have a lot of people behind you. You have coordinators, supervisors, everyone, parents. So you have to do the best you can. But once you be in a public school, nobody's behind you. So if you really didn't have a passion, believe me, you're going to do anything.
Yeah, I will also add the following. There is more happiness in giving than there is in receiving. So it means that when you do things without expecting anything in return, is that when you get your reward. When you work hard for your students, you provide support, you're always there for them, you always provide your shoulder for them to cry on. But if you're willing to transfer your knowledge, no matter whatever the place you are, it doesn't matter if you don't have resources, but if you're very determined, you have that vocation for teaching, you have to try your best, and apply that to your students. Once you are done, the payment, the reward that you get is to see your students succeeding and becoming professional as well.
Can I just add on one more thing?
Go for it.
I just want to add on and reiterate what our panelists have mentioned of getting to know the students. I think that is very important, because if you know the students, you have a connection, you have a relationship with them, and knowing what they like and using that as leverage, nothing like that. Because not only do you know them, they know they're vested in your class, but by banking upon the things that they like, you bring them on board. And then, like I said, learning for them won't be a chore. Teaching for you won't be a chore. So it all boils down to establishing those strong relationships and getting to know your students. Doesn't matter, public school, private school, doesn't make a difference. Getting to know them as human beings, very important. Thank you.
Great answer.
And then one more thing to add on is support them, regardless of their background, and avoiding dropouts in the public system by supporting the students and trying to get to know them, connecting with them. It's a great cause for the community, because if a student drops out, only God knows what follows next. But if a student continues and meditates on the importance of developing themselves, because sometimes they don't have a role model at home. So we cannot blame them for having lack of education or having a certain level of education. That's when the humanitarian act steps in. And we are now the responsibles into building some sort of education level into their lives. And as a teacher in a public school, I would say this connection will avoid dropouts. Yeah.
You also say it's about keyword, vocation, connected
and support, like our like our peer here panelists said, try to figure the things that they like and try to use materials that they're familiar with, that belong to their time and era as well, I would say.
Great. Is there any other question, comment? No? Go for it. Go for it.
Thank you. My question is for Mr. Castillo. Teacher Castillo says something that really gets my attention in his speech, that we teachers, we need to have patience, we have to have conviction, we have to have. What you really said that really gets my attention was that many teachers say that we have to support the students, we have to give them the best we can. But you say something really special for me, that we also as persons, as teachers, we have to improve, we have to do better. So I want to know from you what recommendation you can give to me, to all the students, the young ones. For me and my brother, it will be our first time as teachers. You say something that was, for me, a truth. I have confidence in myself, but in fact, I feel really nervous. I feel really, I have the capacity, I have the confidence, but what can you recommend for us? Like, what can be the first steps for us as teachers to give the best attention, the best support to the students that we have? What will be your recommendations?
Thank you, Mr. Sean, for the question.
Of
Mr. Baker?
course. Well, that's very important, guys, question. Thank you very much, because I think that this is the best part of teaching. Once you come to the class, you're supposed to create this environment of confidence, so the student can feel good. How you create that? Of course, be friendly with the students. Always, when you come to the class, you can be smiling. This is something that's going to change. If I came here to the classroom, I'm smiling, everyone is going to be smiling. It changes your mood. Imagine you go to a place, in a place everyone is angry, and you are smiling. What is going to change? You're going to change your mood immediately. Once you see the people who is angry, you're going to change the mood. It's the same. They are human beings. So once you be in the classroom, the first thing you need to do is a smile, and they're going to feel like, oh, this teacher is nice. First of all. Second one, create confidence. How you create confidence? Every time the students stand up and say something, even if it's wrong, you're supposed to say, you did a good job. You're creating confidence to this student. Maybe he made mistakes, but that's the process. So he's going to be learning the mistake. You can say, you did great job. Well, there's something that maybe you can do better, but that's it. First of all, construct the confidence. This student is always going to be waiting for you. I can tell you guys, I have been working at INADE as a teacher so many years, and a lot of students said, like, I'm not going to have this class if the teacher Benny is not going to be here. It happened. Why? Because some of the teachers, they came angry. Some of the teachers didn't create confidence. Some of the teachers, they came like thinking that you're the X and they're the rock. No, that's not going to work. The students immediately are going to block the mind. Some of them are going to learn because they are really interested. But what happened with the rest? You're going to create with those guys fears. And that's something you cannot allow to do. Those students, they really need to be like waiting for you. So once you be there, they are going to be happy. They're going to be like, hey, I really want to be in this class. I really want to listen to this class. I really want to learn with this teacher, because this teacher gives me confidence. Even if you make a mistake, guys, who didn't do a mistake? Even myself. I have been a teacher and a student for several years, and every single day I do mistakes. So why we're going to show the mistake of the student in front of the class? You're going to create in those students fears, and they are going to believe that that's impossible. And we cannot do that. We need to create on them confidence. They believe, even if it's very hard, I will try to do my best, because the teacher is always supporting me. And that's something, guys, that they cannot never change in the mind of the student. Once they believe you're a great student and you're supporting them, they are going to always loving you once you be in the class.
Thank you. Very good. Okay, once again, a massive thanks to you all. Thank you for joining us tonight. It was a wonderful night. There is so much potential here, and being at Eastside University really pays off. I just want to congratulate every one of you guys, those who were with us tuned on YouTube through our channel. They made great comments on Eastside with ours. Arisela, Victor, Alan, different people, having comments there for this awesome presentation. And please put your hands together for these three amazing people. Have you all a wonderful night, and we will see you next year for more. We're going to prepare more conferences, and you guys are all invited to be part of it. Thank you so much for that. Have a wonderful evening.